During tonight's roundtable, you said that evaluating risk now requires multiple scenarios and disclaimers that something unknown but ugly is coming. What do you see as the most serious threat to the current global order?
Well, I think that the one thing that I'm most concerned about right at this moment is where is the direction of U.S.-China relations going over the next year or two. We've seen a lot of things from Donald Trump talking recently about ending the one China policy, enacting new tariffs, leaving a currency manipulator, and of course taking that phone call with the Chinese president. So all of this leads me to believe is how are the Chinese going to respond to this? And I think that's a big question. Relatively muted so far, although we've certainly heard in the press that they're taking this criticism quite seriously. If this thing begins to escalate, and we do see a trade war begin to surface, we could see a dramatic effect on the world's economy, and also the possibility that this slips into security affairs itself. So the possibility that as the U.S. begins to use its naval engagements to the South China Sea, the Chinese feel compelled to respond. And the thing is that that type of escalation probably doesn't lead to World War III, but what it could do is affect trade and cargo running through that, and it could affect insurance premiums and the world economy at large.
You mentioned the importance of a common economic language in international affairs. What does the world risk if global powers stop using this language?
Well, it's very important because after all, when it comes to reaching an equilibrium in global diplomacy and in global economics, powers have to speak the same language, a language that represents what they are interested in and what the priorities are. Obviously, in the Cold War, we had the security paradigm, which was at the end articulating all the equilibrium between the US and the Soviet Union. But since the end of the Cold War, China and the US have spoken a language of economics that resulted in, after all, like an equilibrium, with obviously its ups and downs, but an equilibrium that delivered at the end sort of like a global peace and also like an economic equilibrium. So with the U.S. and with the U.S. president right now in denial to accept sound economic judgment, in denial to speak that language, then we risk the possibility that that language is not going to be any more available from the mutual understanding between the U.S. and China.
Tonight you discussed declining export rates in relation to GDP. Is there a global best bet for restarting global export growth rates?
Well, I think there's two factors here. Productivity is really crucial for boosting trade across the world, I think, and growth rates in countries. And Trump's plan to up public spending could work in favour of this, stimulating higher productivity in the US through infrastructure, and particularly if it was in tandem with other reforms led to labour markets, product markets. There's also artificial intelligence, financial technologies. These there's momentum here, which if we got stronger productivity, that would also help. They would all tie in together to support stronger growth. The other key driver of stronger trade growth across the world would be trade liberalisation, of course, which of course has taken quite a hit from Trump's election because it's completely against his rhetoric. But if in particular areas of the world, such as Asia, if they went ahead with their own trade deals between themselves, that would offer support to trade, and particularly depending on how the Brexit negotiations go in Europe, we could get trade liberalisation continuing even under a Trump presidency if certain other factors fall into line. But obviously the risks are to the downside to that, but there are upside risks if things go okay.